Hey folks, this is about project number 5, which has to do with positive and negative space and visual balance. We're down to the wire here. This is going to be our second to the last project. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how visual balance works. I'm hoping that this piece of paper is in the screen. Good. Okay. So visual balance has to do with how we make something on a flat surface appear to be equal on both sides so that it doesn't look like, if this were the paper, it doesn't look like it's tilting or that these shapes are going to fall off the page. So visual balance happens in two ways. One way that it happens is through formal balance. So formal balance also means symmetry. If you don't know what symmetry is when you take an object, here's an axis, and you mirror one shape on both sides, so that it's as if this side looks exactly like that side. So formal balance can happen on a vertical axis. It can happen on a horizontal axis the same way, where something, opens up this way. I can't do that with my hands. It can also happen on diagonal axes so that it splits this way. And finally, it can happen radially, like spokes coming off of a wheel. So that is what formal balance is. And that's what we're going to be using for the first composition that we do with the letters, the initials of our names. So regarding this first project, I have chosen a particular font that I like called Maleficent, something like that. And I've made a bunch of letters of various sizes. So since I have two initials that are the same, I'm using my middle initial, so it's Mary Helen. I printed them in 120 point, which is really large, and I printed them in 60 point, and then I printed them out in 20 point because I'm going to experiment or play with the various sizes of the letters. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to cut out these letters one by one really quickly. This is just a rough draft, so I'm going to cut these out really quickly into individual pieces so that I can play with them, and I will show you how I'm going to do that in my next video. So back to balance. So formal balance is the use of symmetry on a vertical axis, a horizontal axis, a diagonal axis, and radially. And as you can see in the slideshow that I've done, the rose window of Notre Dame is done on a radial axis, and each piece, each slide indicates a different form of both formal and informal balance. So the other kind of balance that I want to talk about has to do with informal balance. So informal balance is much more, is much more relaxed. It's much more naturalistic looking, and it's just a matter of putting shapes in ways that give the whole thing some sort of random nature, but things are balanced on both sides of your overall composition. So in this situation, ultimately what we're trying to have is something where shapes are put on a fulcrum. Let's say this is my fulcrum. Maybe I have two little shapes over here and one big shape over here, so that there's a much more sort of random and naturalistic appearance to how we place our shapes. So I have samples of both of these in the module that you're more than welcome to look at to get a better sense of things. So that has to do with visual balance. The next thing that we are going to talk about has to do with the use of positive shapes, and I'm going to do this here. Positive shapes. This is really simple and really straightforward. All we're talking about is the actual shapes themselves, which are solid, and what you made your circles, squares, lines, and triangles out of in your paintings, and how you're going to use for this one your shapes. These black shapes are called the figure, and the white piece of paper here is called the ground. So the relationship of these black shapes or positive shapes and how they relate to or work to the ground or the white of the Bristol board will be really important in this assignment, because what you want to do in the first assignment with your initials is make sure that we pay attention, our eye lands on, and these black shapes become the most important thing we see. That is different than the negative space. So negative space has to do with the emptiness of what goes on between these black shapes that we make. So if these are two shapes here and they're black and they're solid, and my pen doesn't die too soon. So these are my two natural shapes. I just made these up, and they are amoeba. I like that. So these are amoeba. But what I want to happen now is this white space here becomes something interesting. It becomes what our eye focuses on. The black shapes fade away and become unimportant because what they're generating or creating within this white space becomes the predominant thing or the negative space that we pay attention to. So I have not chosen my natural shapes for this next project. I will probably use something like bugs and birds, but you can use parasites, you can use plants, you can use food, you can use lightning, you can use all sorts of different things that come from nature. That means that man has not invented or made to help generate a really interesting composition. Again, I'm going to make big shapes, and I'm going to make lots of little shapes, and I will discuss that in our next video. Okay, so that's the very quick interpretation of the use of positive shapes and negative space and visual balance. So I'm going to put this up on the website, and then I'm going to show you how to go about laying all of this out and experimenting and playing with it. Okay, that's it.